I'll I will start recording on my end. I'm going to just get something organized here real quick, and then I will share my screen. Okay.
Okay.
Um, there we go. Yeah, again, thank you, Phil. You guys can see that, I assume. Yes, you can. Okay. Um, I use the B Squad Google Meet, so when we get into these high class Zoom meetings, I don't really know how to use it, but um, you know, I appreciate it, making it look a little bit fancier. So, as we've talked, everybody over the last 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I guess now we're into it. We've been kind of going through like how to prospect and flow of the conversation with the business owner. And there's two things business owners care about: it's growing their business and taxes, and let's kind of try to fix all of it. um, we've talked about the state mandates that are out there and everywhere. We've talked about the licensing, we've talked about all these things. So this week is all about like giving you guys tools to actually go get the business, and it works. Nick Barcelona, the Nick Barcelona, great name, is here with us from John Hancock today because we're going to use their prospecting tool. They also allow, in the states that allow it, the different um, in the states allow they allow the life license. So just real quick, these are the states. This is a real quick, brief overview of some of the states. You can see a lot of these just say life, right? Some of them say variable life and so on and so forth, but a lot of them just say life. So these are the different states that you can do business in, and John Hancock does allow that. So I won't go too far into that just because that's a little bit of a compliance thing. But this page, I think Phil, I shared this with you guys last week. I want to go ahead and put this in the chat though, um, for everybody,
Yeah.
so you can kind of start. You did?
Well, for
Okay.
clarity, I was going to put a note out after we wrap for the four, which will include the resources and everything. But yeah,
Okay.
put
All
it in the
right.
chat so the people here can get it earlier. So
I
absolutely.
want you to, yeah, I want you to be able to look at it while we're talking today. So, but this resource page is built for you guys. It's not built for our company. It's built for you. So, these are all buttons up here, and then I want to have Nick jump in and I want to start with the lead generation, I shouldn't say lead generation, the prospecting tools. So going through here, this is a tax credit calculator that I will go over afterwards with on how this would work. This will allow you to produce PDFs and numbers, estimated numbers, based on your prospects. So you can say, hey, instead of the bag of IRAs that the state is offering you, let's offset something a little bit better with tax credits. And this is a good way to do that. The retirement plan evaluator is something that you're going to be able to kind of go through with the client, and it's going to point them in which kind of plan is going to be in their best interest. Um, I have all these industry brochures and growing. So these are niche specific unbranded PDFs that we kind of showed last week a little bit, where you can kind of highlight a niche that you want to go after and then search for it, where Nick's going to help out here. We'll dive into that a little bit more. These are any research tools that you want to learn more about, group retirement plans, individual retirement plans. These are some just explainer videos that we've done in the past. These are business facing webinars it's me speaking to the business owner. And if you want to hear how I present it to the business owner, you can go in there and listen in. You can even share it if you want, with the business owner, so we can kind of rake them into the pipeline, into your pipeline. So lead gen here, which Nick's going to go over. And then this is a great library of how to get in the mind of a business owner, which is taxes and understanding taxes, understanding business structure like S Corp versus proprietors versus just straight LLCs. We'll go over all those things here in a little bit, but these are tools that you can use. But Nick, I think now is a great time for you to get into the prospect. Do you want to share your screen? You probably have a
Yeah.
better. Okay,
Let me see. You
I'll
gotta.
stop mine. Did it stop? I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
Oh,
Fancy buttons. Okay.
yeah. Well, I want to say thanks to you and Phil, Matt, for having me on here. I appreciate being part of the process. As Matt mentioned in the intro, I am pretty much I joke around that I'm a one-trick pony. I do nothing but 401k plans with business owners, um, covered a several state area. Like Matt was showing you on the screen sharing with our platform, in most states you just need a life license, and that's in the domiciled location of where the plan is. You know, if you're in Ohio, they have multiple locations. You really just need to be licensed in the state of Ohio, no matter how many locations the company has. When it comes to 401k plans and profit sharing plans, I look at it kind of like a fork in the road. On one side, you have startup plans. On the other side, you have conversion plans. Matt's going to talk more about those tax credits. The tax credit calculator looks like something I need to get access to, Matt. I like that because most business owners in America, I'm here to tell you, they do not know that these tax credits are out there. There's a lot of fear, I think, in the eyes of the Department of Labor with so many Americans not having enough saved for retirement. They want to encourage as many companies as humanly possible to have a plan. And when Matt talks you through the tax credits, I wanted to. I'm here to talk about the other side, the conversion plans, but we're doing startup plans like IHOP does pancakes right now, because once people find out that basically the government's going to pay for your admin costs to have a plan, and they're going to give you the first $1,000 to give a match to your people, it almost doesn't make sense to not have a plan. But what do we do with the conversion opportunity? What's the market opportunity in the area where you are? The great thing about 401ks and identifying these is that it's public domain knowledge. So if you can see my screen now, this is the website. Everybody right now can go on here. It's just retirement.johnhancock.com. I wanted to leave it like this just to show you. When you get onto the site, you'll see this register for access button. So you create your username, you create your password. Luckily for me, I have this saved, and I created it a year ago, and I can just hit one button and it lets me in. But every year when you have a 401k plan as a business owner, you have to do discrimination or compliance testing, but you also have to do this thing called a 5500 filing. That's the part that's public domain knowledge. So the tool I'm about to show you is a Hancock algorithm, basically, where we're pulling these resources straight from the Department of Labor website, but we also have a partnership with an outside firm by the name of Judy Diamond that gives every plan in America a score. So I will tell you, there's a ton of other great resources here, viewpoints, articles. I would kind of look at this as like what Matt was showing a minute ago, just different resources. If you wanted to read up on retirement plans and Roth and 401ks and cash balance plans, there's a ton of good reading material. For the purposes of the next 10 or 15 minutes, I just wanted to focus on prospecting. So when you click the prospecting tab, you can do a specific search. If Phil was going to go in the Brentwood, Tennessee area tomorrow and meet with ABC company, you can pull up ABC company, and it's going to give you every plan that has ABC in the name. So you could look up specific plans. You could look up specific counties. If I just
if you, as to say, Nick, if you want to put 37069.
I was going to go Brentwood for you, Phil, but I'll do 37069.
That's Franklin. I'm not hoity-toity enough to be in Brentwood. So.
Well, I appreciate I was going to just throw it out to somebody to throw out a zip code, but yeah, it's as simple as that. You can put a county, a city. Most people do search by zip codes, and the highfalutin area of Franklin, Tennessee is on our radar at the moment. Phil with his pinky drinks. So it's going to give you these plans in alphabetical order as well. You guys may look at the asset column first. That's a lot of people want to focus on the biggest plans possible. You got Battleground Academy with a 169 people. I mean, a lot of the reasons for people in your chair to go after these plans is for the business owner, but you have a lot of people here, so sometimes the focus on individuals. I would tell you the lowest hanging fruit generally tends to be these plans under $1 million. They're the ones that are overpriced. They're underserviced. No one's going out to meet with them. No one's got the willingness or ability to do individual participant education meetings. And I'll tell you a quick secret as a one-trick pony on the 401k side. I can tell you all, what keeps us in business a lot are the fact that these plans don't get repriced. And I hate to be the fee person. I want to talk about the value that all of us bring and the education. This probably doesn't surprise anybody on this call, but what business owners, whether they admit it or not, what they care about the most are costs. Keeping cost certainty. And I would echo what Matt said 5 minutes ago about taxes. If we can help them on their taxes and we can keep their costs low, they'll love us forever. But the truth is that so many of the servicing of these plans tends to fall off to the wayside. If I was going to give anybody on this call a quick bit of advice, if you had 30 seconds to make a point to any of these business owners, if you reached out to ACUF Ideas tomorrow, if you have 30 seconds to make an impression, what I normally would suggest is just to say, look, we work for a firm that has a renewed focus on qualified retirement plans in our community. And what we see so far every day are plans that are sitting on autopilot. Plans that have been around for 10 years and haven't made a fund change. Plans that have doubled and tripled in size. They're in the same funds, paying the same fees that they were 5 years ago. Part of your liability, and I don't want to get too into the weeds on you, but when you're a business owner in America, whether you're a plumber, an HVAC tech, it doesn't matter. You're a fiduciary. So 1413 Development, ACUF Ideas, the people who put this in place, Beartooth Investments, they're required to kick the tires on the plan every year or two to make sure that it, quote, acts in the best interests of their people. So what I'm telling you in a roundabout way is what you're offering every one of these business owners helps them, even if they don't move forward with us. Just what I'm willing to say to these Brentwood MD would be, even if you take the time to meet with us, and if we can't save you money, we can't improve your plan, and we can't improve the investment menu you have available, take our proposal, label it 2025 fiduciary review, and it will have been worth your time. I always say we're willing to do that work because, again, plans don't get repriced. Plans tend to be on autopilot. I hear it to this day all the time where, once they know we can save them a lot of money, then we're more likely to hear things like, oh yeah, I haven't seen my guy in 5 years. No one's been out here to do an education meeting in a long time.
Yeah, and just to echo on that real quick, Nick, the term that is the hot button there, this is absolutely something that you guys should be focusing on the fees. You're right. It's called benchmarking, and I don't want to say it's like this black and white rule that the IRS has every 3 years you have to or else, but it's shopping the plan fees in the interest of your employees, because the IRS code is available for the business owner as long as you take care of your employees, right? And they have made examples of business owners where they had to reimburse fees for X amount of years because they couldn't prove that they shopped it. So 100% accurate, Nick. Thank you for saying that.
I mean, it's the truth. And, the government's not going to kill you for that. You don't have to have the cheapest plan. You don't have to have top quartile funds in every asset class. Like Matt just said, you just have to have a mechanism that you have eyes on this. Now it's happened a couple of times where we did a proposal and a side-by-side comparison, and we're saving a business owner $15,000 a year on their costs. Maybe you don't want to label that in your file as fiduciary review. They may wonder, why didn't you move the plan? Matt was saving you $15,000 a year. That's kind of a compelling reason. But I mean, you pull up one of these, and I grabbed this one, and because it's going to get a bad score. And a common question I get is what does the score mean? Where do they come up with these numbers? And as you'll see, you can customize co-branding in these reports. Again, they're not from John Hancock. This is an independent ratings agency, and all they do is benchmark these retirement plans and how do they compare with others. So this one's called MMR Senior Alliance. Another thing that I look at for anyone who's going to use this tool, one of the first things I always look at is this effective date. And the reason I look at that is just because, again, whether this is sad or right or wrong, the worst pricing that a plan ever sees is when they start up for the first time. Like if you don't have any money, your fees are going to be the highest. But it doesn't take long before you should be kicking the tires and you should be benchmarking. Not to be long-winded about it, but I would tell you, if you see these dates where it's 2015, 16, 17, or later, that's a good one to say, look, there's no worse pricing than when you're just getting started. Would love the opportunity to benchmark you, even at 300,000. That is a big break point, at least at Hancock.
So Nick,
and the fact that they are, sorry, just real quick, the fact they have 300 grand after 9 years means they're not taking advantage of something. It's poorly designed, or they're just going with the flow. So go ahead. Sorry, Phil.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you just scroll back up real quick, because I saw this in point of clarification, it says planned year end December of 22. Does that mean they haven't contributed since 2022, or how does that work out?
So it's a great question, Phil. And one of the negatives, to be perfectly honest with everybody, is these 5,500s are filed annually. So for this one, right now, the most recent we have is 2022. That doesn't mean they haven't contributed in 2023. It just means, the filings are due with extensions by October 15th. So the 2023 numbers should be, literally at this point, any day, we should have updated numbers on a lot of these. But yeah, they were effective, Independence Day 2015. Their odds are strong that they're still contributing, but the most recent info we have is about 18 months old. But as you can see, we get the contact name, phone number, address. We get this independent score. They had $306,000 at the end of 2022. You look at the total contributions. I'm not a mathematician, but I would say at this point you got another year and a half of putting in 63 grand plus market uptick. They're probably knocking on the door of $500,000. And to further Matt's point, do they have access to someone like Matt? Right now, what we could tell you is the contribution to savings rate compared to the industry they're in, the state of Tennessee's average plan, and the national average savings rate. We can get your people, if they have access to a professional that can sit down and maybe just use some of these calculators. How does it affect your take-home pay to contribute 3 versus 4 versus 5 compared to the 1% they're doing now? Some advisors like to talk about weave in other benefits like a health plan. There's a big push right now with, the healthcare costs of older Americans. You as a business owner, you want your people to retire. You don't want them putting in $1,000. You want them putting in $6,000 so that they can retire on time. Whether it's healthcare costs or tax advantages, the reality is you're able to tell these people, look, your savings rate's a little low. We can help your people reach the goals and dreams. So that's one reason they're getting a bad score. Again, I look at this form, and don't be daunted by the fact that it's 14 pages, guys, because I honestly, I'm looking at just a few key data points. Number one was the effective date. How long have they had the plan? Number two, are people saving? The other two are on this page. This is a terrible plan. Their participation rate is 10%, meaning 90% of their people do not save. They're in the bottom 10% in the country. And a good advisor can affect not only the savings rate, but the participation rate. You have 90% of people who are contributing zero. Are they relying on Social Security, some pension plan they have access to that most Americans don't? Or is it because they didn't have access to an investment professional that could talk to them about, hey, you need to save for yourself? People are living a lot longer than they were when Social Security first came. When first Social Security rolled out, you could take your money at 62 and life expectancy was 63. It's like, thank you for my 1 year, United States. Now life expectancy is 20 years longer. And I think when Matt tells you about all the tax credits for startup plans, that's no accident. The government wants as many companies to start up a plan as they physically can. What else can a good advisor impact? They're in not bottom quartile. What this number 5 means is that 95 of every 100 plans in America outperform theirs. They lost 25% of their account value in 2022. Now, 2022 was bad for all of us.
Year.
It was a bad year for all of us. But, I mean, I think about that and then I'm like, well, it's still a level playing field. They were, it was awful for all of us. They were just more awful.
Really awful.
They were
Yeah.
really awful. It's not a fiduciary term, but that is exactly what they were. is more than awful. So, I mean, again, you can look at more of these pages. It takes you from national averages. If we were just looking at plans in the state of Tennessee, they're still 95 out of, they're in the bottom 5% of return in the country. Now, what is that for? Is that because, to me, it's one of two reasons. It's, you set up this plan in 2015. What investment options did you pick as a plan? But also, maybe we should take a look at what these employees are invested in. Negative 25%. Fund managers get hired, they retire, they get fired. Part of your fiduciary liability is let's benchmark the investments you're in to see if they're optimal. So that's
just a real quick thing on that, Nick, to kind of share, because again, we have a lot of people who are just life licensed, and so they can't really answer questions on the investment side. Now, I know we have Matt, just able to help us out from the TPA side. Is there anyone also from the John Hancock side that can answer questions too, or are we just all focusing on Matt to, make that beard even whiter? So
that's why God created just for men, Phil. But I will tell you that
all three of us are in the same boat. But anyway,
it's right here. What's going on? Yeah,
I know.
But
just wait.
But yes, answer your question. We do make access. So you have Matt as a dedicated person on the website for Hancock. They can access advice through Morningstar. So there's point in time or ongoing advice where Morningstar can make proactive changes to a participant's accounts for a fee if they wanted to. And then we have licensed people on the call center that can help them. So a lot of belt and suspenders with different ways that we can help answer those. If somebody has questions on what the funds are, here's the truth of it too, guys. 20 years ago, we started seeing the advent of target date funds. I think BlackRock would tell you they invented it. They actually did on a call we had this week. I didn't know that, but there's 15 different fund companies in our platform: T. Rowe, BlackRock, Vanguard, American Funds. It's almost 90% of all new money goes into target date funds. If you ask most Americans, hey, you can either proactively manage this and make changes, or you could put it into the Vanguard 2040 fund. It'll recalibrate your risk for you over time. 90% of people are choosing that option. So that should be mitigated by that also, including the other Matt, the tools, the access to the Hancock's licensed service people. So I wouldn't worry too much about that part of it. And then when it comes to savings rates, I'm a very simplistic person. I think about if you're an American and you're in a plan like this, what are the things you need to think about? And I'm trying to skinny this down because when we do education meetings, and we have a team of people at Hancock that can help with enrollment meetings, I figure we have people's attention for maybe 20 minutes. And the idea is look, there's three things to think about. Number one, how much money do you need every month to live the life you want to live? Number two, how much should you contribute? 3, 4, 5%. I tell the story of me. When I signed up, I picked 2%. Exactly because I thought 3% I couldn't afford it, and 1% didn't sound like enough. Now we have a lot better calculators where you can put somebody's paycheck and it'll tell them exactly how it affects their take-home pay. And then the third question is, where do you put it? And that's where the target dates normally come in. It's, to me, the biggest question. Most experts will tell you whatever you make today, guess what? You still need about 80% of that. Maybe your kids are out of the house. Maybe your house is paid off, but you still have to eat. You still have to live. If you're making 40 grand a year now, guess what? Probably need 32 grand a year in retirement. So that's kind of a rule of thumb. The where do you put it? Again, 90% target dates. To me, the biggest question is that, what percentage are they picking? Are they putting in 3%? And I'm rambling a little bit here, but one other point I want to make is starting next year, all new plans have to, if you're over 10 employees in America, starting next year, you have to auto enroll. So that's going to make things, our early stats tell us it's 92% of people who are auto enrolled stay enrolled. You know, they don't, most people do not even know they have a balance till they get their first statement from us saying they saved $200 accidentally. And, you know, they don't normally opt out. So it's all kind of weaves together with government trying to get more people to save with these tax credits and the force-fed auto enrollment. But you can really help these people. You know, I know we were just looking at Franklin, Tennessee, but you guys can all access this tool right away. You can put it in any zip code. You can see what plans are in the area. You can download this. I have some colleagues I work with, they like to download this, take the asset column, add it up and say the market opportunity is $42 million in my zip code. Feel free to do that. You know, you can see like, you know, which plans do you want to target? Which plans do you know? You know, again, to me, the hardest part of all this is that initial conversation. You know, business owners, they have, you know, they have divided priorities, and I'm used to living my life on the back burner a little bit, but stay with it, guys. Stay with it. You know, again, I would say, you know, when you think about it as a business owner, look, you're going to do the work. You know, one question you may have is, what happens if Phil reached out to Battleground Academy and they said, yeah, Phil, I'd love to have a benchmarking review done. What now? When Phil makes that face and says that, what do you guys? I didn't ask Barcelona that question. What happens now? So what you want to do on my wish list is I normally ask for 3 items. You know, in our industry, starting 10 years ago, the John Hancocks of the world, every year we have to provide a fee disclosure. You know, there's a sponsor level 1. It's called a 408B as in Boston 2. That's the plan level fee disclosure. Every participant gets a participant level fee disclosure. It's called a 404A5. Those are the 2 things I ask for, because we'll use that to do a side-by-side comparison. Let's compare the costs. Let's compare the performance. You know, if you do run across a plan and they say, yeah, we would love to see a fiduciary benchmarking, ask for those 2 things. And then me and my team will put all the analytics together for you.
Yeah, even a census would probably be best too, right? Add a census to that, and which I have a census template for everybody as well. But yeah, and those forms that Nick just mentioned, they can get that from their login easily at their current provider, so not a problem to get
it is pretty easy. I will tell you. Let me show you.
Yeah.
Just I'm pivoting over here a little bit, but I'm going to share my screen with the Hancock. This is the Hancock participant website, what it looks like. You log into the participant site, and every single person has access. Where Hancock is we call it the open menu concept, but it's right on the homepage. You know, 404A5 notice. Again, it's not something. The first year in 2012, they forced us to mail them hard copies. Now it's all electronic. So, and I would advise you, you know, if you're talking to a business owner, sometimes that's where opportunities get put on the back burner, is asking a business owner to go online to grab a fee disclosure. What I've learned over the years is just to say, you know, look, put me in touch with whoever handles the day-to-day operations. That person who logs in to the principal website every 2 weeks to make your contributions, they'll be able to pull this stuff that we need in 5 seconds. So sometimes, you know, again, you ask a business owner to do something, it could be 3 weeks, where for the real person who deals with this sites, it's a couple minutes. So that's what I ask for. And again, I used to fight this type of a conversation, but what I learned over time was it's not a fair fight. You know, these plans, they don't get repriced. It's not like whenever, you know, advisors have individual clients, there may be things like breakpoints. In the 401k world, I mean, these providers will let you grow, double, triple, quadruple in size, and you'll still be in the same funds with the same costs. So that's the message. You guys will all find the language that you like the best. But I would tell you the 1-2 punch that's worked for me is, you know, let me help protect you as a fiduciary by benchmarking the fees you're paying, the services you're getting, and the investments you're holding. You know, if those things are all in good order, we'll be the first to tell you. And it helps protect you as a fiduciary just by having a copy of this. It proves that you had a process, that you were thoughtful about it. We're willing to do that work for you, Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, because we see it where these plans are always on autopilot. Haven't made a fund change in 10 years, haven't seen a fee reduction, even though they've, you know, another thing that helps is, you know, maybe not so much this week, but as of the end of last week, we're at market all-time highs. If you're ever going to kick
Mhm.
the tires on what you're paying, why not do it when your plan has never looked better? Is what my normal advice is.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say, also for those who do potentially have questions, feel free to put them in the chat. So that way we can get them answered for you. The big thing though, and I'll reiterate this because I said at the beginning, when we had like six people and now we got more, write down your prospects, write down the people that you think could, off the top of your head, even before you even go out here, that could work with this. Because right now, as Matt said last week, it takes about 6 to 8 weeks to put this kind of stuff in place. You got to get census done. You got to get the back office to actually implement it into their payroll and everything. So if people are going to want to get ready for 2025, you're going to have to start now. So I think that's the big thing is to remember is these are not one and done, quick and dirty kind of things. These are a long process, but once you have the mechanism set up, it's almost like a set it and forget it. Unlike, but as Nick said, you got to kick the tires every few years or so, make sure you're keeping on top of your clientele. But this is a great opportunity to really get people set up for next year because the time is now to review this type of stuff.
I heard Matt mention, or maybe it was you, Phil, passive income, in the intro, and that's another nice. I mean, if you look at this from your perspective, I mean, it's almost like you're an employee at a company. Hancock pays monthly with this product, and it's every time they get paid, they make contributions that hits you,
Mhm.
and then you have access to all the people who are employed there. Again, it's a real issue because we see it all the time where they're not getting any type of individualized conversation or support on any of their
Mhm.
finance.
Are you guys willing to share how comps work? Let's just say average street level agent. What are we kind of looking at from a standpoint like I would say a lot of people here have written annuities or write annuities. Percentage wise, are you guys able to share, or is it like a complex, beautiful mind with Russell Crowe writing
Yeah,
on the walls kind of thing?
I would
Phil, if
let
that
me start
if
with that. Let me start with that, and then I want to pass it back to you, Nick, because on the comp structure or availability. But generally speaking, a lot of this comes down to the percentage of assets, right? Like your or AUM model, right? Assets under
Yep.
management. What do you the average startup you can charge? What is it? 60 basis points ish. I would say.
That's a good average. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it
see some
is.
people go 50, some go 100. Somewhere in that range is, 60
Yeah.
is probably a good average.
60 is competitive. Let's just put it that way. You can go higher. And honestly, there's a fair point. Like the stuff that we've talked about, we're going really deep on the high level plan design stuff. Remember the prototype versus non-prototype, custom versus boilerplate.
Yep.
And if we're getting into that granular kind of plan design, it's fair to say let's just bump it up even a little bit just to be a little bit more to show, prove what we can bring to the table. But so that's just like, an as earned type situation. But Nick, doesn't John Hancock have more of like how does the more of an upfront structure or something like that with that?
Yeah. I mean, you could take upfront comp. I mean, we always used to have that schedule. It's just different broker dealers took it away a few years ago remember that DOL proposed rule that never really
Yep.
happened. I mean,
Yep.
our system still allows you to take 1% on a transfer, and then a trail base. So when you talk about 60 basis points, if it's what does that mean? If it's $1 million plan, our average plan last year was like 1.6 ish, with a mix of startups and a couple big ones, throw the averages off. But if we just took $1 million plan times 60 basis points, that's $6,000 a year on that plan. I will tell you, that the average, there's a lot of other things you could do, obviously, with business owners and different participants. The study we get from
Yeah.
people, I think it's from Fidelity. It's like the average person, it's 7 times that what you make by being able to work with the individuals in a plan, but that's what the math looks like. Thankfully, it isn't beautiful mind desk. It's, if you take $1 million times 60 bips, you're at about 6 grand. And then if you do take money up front, if we can do that, that would be, we would have to take a look at that just to make sure it's okay. But our system allows you to do that. So a plan, we did a plan last year, was a $3 million plan, and the advisor took 1% on the transfer, which is, it's just the way it used to be. It was so common to do that up until just recently. That's $30,000 payment. And with the way Hancock operates is we amortize that over 10 years. So it doesn't affect the cost of the plan that much. And then, kind of what Matt and Phil were alluding to a minute ago is a lot of the work is up front. Once you have the plan set up, it's a matter of crossing T's and dotting I's and just, kicking your own tires on your own plan every few years as a fiduciary, just to help them make sure the plan is in order. I got to go back to Hancock. Nick better reduce the pricing, or we got to move this plan. Basically.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. Yeah.
What happens,
Yeah.
but taking an upfront compensation, we can still do that. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's
It's not as popular as it used to be, but yeah, it's this is the entry point. This is I mean, especially with the mandates, like this is I don't want to call it a necessary evil, but this is what they know. This is what CPAs know. This is what they know the term in IRS code 401k. They don't know all the other stuff that we've been talking about the last couple weeks, like what you can do with the buy-sell agreements, what you can do with the non-qualified plans. I mean, Nick, you guys can do cash balance plans too. So, if you guys remember the upside down tiered wedding cake that I've shown everybody, that is the top layer. That's 300 grand a year just for the owner to be able to put money in, depending on their age and so on and so forth. So that 60 basis points will grow quickly when you have that much going into the plans, instead of just doing, the $7,000 IRA contribution for one person. So it's just the entry point to actually just start being the trusted resource for the business owner.
And just to stack onto the delicious cake that Matt keeps talking about, keeps making me hungry. That's why I'm not getting thin, Matt. Thanks a lot. Is once again, this is why, like, I tell people all the time, is you don't have to recruit the world to get the business. Like, if you help a business owner that has 10 employees, or 14, 13 development, there's 67 employees, not much in assets per se compared to some of the other ones. But imagine now saying you hooked up the business owner, you gave them a better retirement plan. Mr. and Mrs. Business Owner, can I do a financial literacy course for your employees free of charge? Lunch and learns. You could go in every single week and you have 67 referrals right there. Might come in for a free salad and some pasta, but they might walk out with a term policy, a permanent policy, and friends. So you're building your network by supporting business owners that will branch out like a spider web and suddenly get you into more spots. But you can use this tool to recruit, grow, and build. And we can also, this is the cheap shameless plug, we have a marketing team that can put this into an email format for you and then get you on the system so it can send out stuff to people in a cold drip campaign to warm it up, to get you in front of them. So there's different ways to approach it. You could do it by yourself. You could leverage someone, like I've opted to leverage Matt. Matt has brought in Nick. We work as a team in this scenario. Now, if you want to also leverage, you're not the best marketer, we have a marketing team here at Valor that can help support you with that too. So there's all this different stuff that you can actually download these lists. They have key indicated people here, snail mail, email, phone calls, text, whatever, that can get you in front of these people. It's all about working smarter, not harder. And so let the marketing work for you. Then you walk in one day, say you have a picture on your email, and all of a sudden they see that face come in, like, I know you, something like that. So there's just so much you can do and by taking advantage of stuff like this. And how much does it cost for this, Nick?
Zero. Yeah, nothing.
Free as me, baby. So there was a question real quick, if you don't mind answering. One of the agents asked, what can we say if like a business person says that they have an accounting, like an accounting firm taking care of everything? Like, how do we overcome the
Mm.
objection of the business owner is kind of like giving you the Heisman? And is there something that we can say to, kind of ping pong it back or tennis racket it back to them to say, I am a valuable asset. Matt, that might be in your wheelhouse because I'm sure you probably run into gatekeepers quite a bit. So, any thoughts on that?
Sure. Yeah. So, and we have like 81 CPAs that's in this business. All right. So this is a really, really good question. And I'm just going to be straightforward with you to everyone on this. CPAs don't they think they know a lot about this stuff, but they actually don't. They look at it as like an IRS code. All 401k plans are created equal, right? And that is far, far, far from the truth. It's like I said this before, it's like hiring an attorney or using LegalZoom or H&R Block versus an actual tax planning CPA. Completely different things. So I will tell you right now, there's a lot of robo 401k plan providers out there like Human Interest, Guideline, Betterment. There are robo 401ks. Um, and let's just put it this way. Um, and I've said this.
Trying to
I've
be
said this
nice.
to
You're
CPAs.
trying to be nice.
I
I'm
know.
waiting to
I'm
hear
pausing.
The
Some,
call is recorded. I was ready to
I
jump
I
in.
know.
know. I'm waiting
Nick's
for
like, I gotta go. No. Um,
it.
so it'd be like me referring to TurboTax instead of him or her to the
Yeah.
CPA. I mean, 100%. But there's different roles in every 401k plan. There's different roles in every 401k plan. If they are acting as the fiduciary or they are acting as whatever the role they're playing, there's more than one role to that. So are they acting as the investment fiduciary? Great. But it doesn't mean that you still can't go in there and tweak the design. Now, if they want to act as a fiduciary, you're going to lose that fiduciary fee, that 0.60, right? You're not going to be able to help with that. But I tell you what, if you want to work with us, we can go in there and create the custom plan design versus a boilerplate design. And it's because, and Nick, the non-elective safe harbor versus the standard safe harbor. If they're trying to max out profit sharing, you don't want to use the standard safe harbor match. I promise you, the CPA doesn't know that. They don't know that. They don't know that using a non-elective safe harbor versus the match is going to help give less to your employees on the profit sharing side. There's so many little tweaks and there's a lot more gray area in 401ks than people realize. Let's put it that way. Now it comes down to the custom plan document that is attached to their 401k plan versus the boilerplate prototype plan document. That is how you set yourself apart, being able to say, well, I'll tell you what, I have so the business owner, like, yes, they are very, very attached to their CPAs. It's because the CPA has created that atmosphere for them. And it's saying, let me show you what we can do. All I need is a census. Get a census from them. A census is a list of their employee pool with their hire date, their date of birth, how much they make, who's the owners, which is a really nice tool to have in your back pocket once you start getting into all this other ancillary business. But look, this is what we can do. And the CPA is not acting as have you ever heard of a CPA, Nick, of acting as the administrator?
No, no,
I've
no. I
never
mean,
heard of,
sometimes
no.
they'll do payroll submissions, but never as what we do. What you do, what I do.
Right. Yeah. There's a whole there's a what they're doing is a lot of times these CPAs are getting a referral fee from interest. Human Interest has a very good CPA referral program. I promise. I just took over a 7 franchise daycare company that came from Human Interest, and they're not great. They're
Yeah.
set it and forget it and move on. So
Self-serve. What we do is not a real
100%.
self-serve type of. I mean, those online ones. Just to echo what Matt was saying, there are some places that are trying to do it on the sheet, and it's hard to do. It's hard to do what we do. I mean, I'm fond of saying the only reason I have a job is because of the complexities in this world we're in right now. And I will tell you, not to pick on CPAs, but I always try to give them credit by saying, look, they have to know a million different things about so many different parts of the tax code. What we see a lot are, they get comfort level with a simple, so everybody gets a simple. Some of the worst plans, though, that I've ever seen are, three business owners getting hammered beyond all recognition with a tax bill, but they have a simple. They're hitting their head against the cap of what they could save in a simple. And then we show them a 401k and a cash balance where they can literally save six figures on their tax bill. And, the CPA, great accountant, but didn't know the nuances and the complexities that are, the loopholes we can jump through on our side. So Matt's right. You get a sense it's worth taking a second look at it. If nothing else, if you got that question or pushback from whoever asked the question, I would just say, look, again, we're just looking to benchmark it, a second set of eyes. If we can show you something you may be surprised at, then that's a good thing. If we can't, then you have the security to know that your CPA is doing the right thing for you. I know I would want a second set of eyes on something this important.
Yeah, the amount of plans that are out of compliance or designed improperly that are attached to CPAs and financial advisors, I would probably say 75% of the time it's not done as efficiently as you possibly can. So
and I would say the same thing. Another thing you may come across is, my joke is, about Uncle Billy. Some of the worst plans I've ever seen. You may run into business owners who says, my uncle or my good friend is the advisor on the plan. I always say, look, let them do every other part of your investments, but the stuff that you're fiduciarily liable for, let me bring in my team and let's take a look at it. That's another thing you'll hear from time to time is, oh, my cousin has the plan. Let your cousin do everything else.
Yeah.
The qualified plan, let's bring in the expert.
Well, that's I was gonna say you could always say, well, I know I got a quote from Matt Ruttenberg that says 75% of plans are wrong, so we have to review it. That's what I just heard. So
Yeah.
if you want to bring no, but I always like to say very simply, you don't let a doctor or you don't let a dentist look at your heart for a reason. So why are you letting a tax specialist handle a retirement plan? Most of the time they're telling you how much you have to put away, but they usually don't tell you the vehicles to put it into for that very reason. And so you have to have a specialist, and for those who are like, well, I'm not a specialist, you have a team. You have three people right here talking right now that can help you take that prospect to the next level. So you don't have to be the expert. It's not what you know, but who you know, or what you know and who you know. But either way, you want to figure out the opportunity and don't be afraid to get in front of them because you don't know it. Okay. Don't be afraid to say, I have a team, but it does require a little bit of work. If you think that we have an opportunity to save you some money, and if not, it's a free service. What are you losing from this other than someone getting offended? Oh no, so that's the big thing is why are they holding on to that so much? Or why is the CPA telling you no, they're not going to help you? Is it your best interest or their best interest? So those are some of the questions that you can plant the seed in the person's head and let that marinate over time. So the other quick question, I'll answer it for you because I know, Matt, you got some stuff up and I know we'll wrap here in 8. Naturally, the plan scores in yellow or red just mean that they could use some work. So the worse the number, it's an independent score, just telling how well the plan is performing compared to its peers, so to speak, in the market from an independent reviewer. So yellow is meh, red is and that's a technical term. You can use that if you want, but
Also quoted.
yes, quoted. Phil Resch said your plan was meh. or so so yeah, the worse number it is, the more improvement or opportunity we should have to review it, is the best
And
way
you
to
can
put it.
sort by those. There was a spot I probably should have
Yeah.
showed that. You could
I'm gonna
sort.
actually I'm gonna go on that here in a minute, actually, Phil or Nick. So
Okay.
I'll show that to you real quick. Um, but yeah, so like let's go into that real quick. So I think that where do you start, right? Let's like, this is a big, there's a lot of 401k plans in the world. So let's kind of jump into that real quick. And I think I want to start with the niche, right? I've said it before, find a niche that whether it was an old career or your neighbor or someone you have has influence that you might know that can get you in with the optometrists in the area or runs a networking group of all the whatever. Start there and then work your way out from the niche. So like architects. Okay, architects start here. They then start working with all the flooring companies that they work with and then go from there. So let's kind of look at that. And again, all these are mention something. This is what they look like, unbranded. You give them this and show them what you can do in a 401k versus what they are doing inside of this John Hancock tool, right? It's a big difference. So what was that zip code, Phil?
37069.
Okay. And then advanced, I mean, what Nick, you were saying earlier, plan score. You can either search by all the reds, yellow. It's pretty easy right there on its own. But let's look at industry segment. Give me a niche. Let's say healthcare. Want to go that?
Yeah.
Okay, so health was right there. And we want to look at physicians. Maybe you want to talk to dentists, and we have a brochure on that too. Okay, the dentist, that's one. Again, tell me if you want something else. And you can don't deal with all these, just go talk to all the dentists in your zip code. All three of them for Phil. But anyway, so there's going to be more. Obviously, you search beyond that zip code. And these two are probably shut down, I would say.
Yeah, I was say.
But everyone in Phil's neighborhood, go talk to Robert, and then it'll be do fine. But so those are things you can get into. You can get into, maybe dentists aren't the thing in Franklin, Tennessee. Maybe there's more mental health. Let's see, this will be
We're a
okay.
small city, but you
Small
pick
city,
up what
okay.
they're putting in. Yeah.
You get the gist there. But it works, and you can go drop in, say I work on all the with all the optometrists in the whatever tri-state area, and I don't think we have you as a client right now. This is what you can do. This is what our specialty is, and know that industry inside and out. Use ChatGPT to tell you exactly what is the industry like? What are the pains and like what are the pains and what are the things that they strive for inside the industry? Business models, things like that, and then to go in there and talk to them and learn everything about that. And that is a great place to start on that. I know we're running out of time, but I'm not going to get into too far into detail on tax credits, but you go in here, just start. This goes to you and only you. Okay. You go through here, it takes you 30 seconds. It produces a PDF and an email, and then you type your information on it, and it's going to have your information on it, and you can send this directly to the business owner with all the estimated tax credits year by year on what we think they're going to get. Okay. This is going to be great for, we're showing you all the all the people, all the dentists in the area, but then get on Google and say, there's a lot more that aren't listed on here, and go to those, and those might haven't even started up yet. And if there's a state mandate, even better, because they have a deadline, or an upcoming state mandate, even better. So learn, really dig into those things and start utilizing all these tools. And then this is one piece. This is a great podcast to listen. I've been on here a few times, but he actually gets into teaching you what it is to be the business owner on the tax strategies and things like that. This is a tool that you'd have to pay for it, but I have negotiated down the price for everybody. Business owners, like the non-qualified side, right? We're talking pre-tax contributions into 401k, profit sharing, cash balance plans, but sometimes the numbers don't work out. that they're in the red by doing these contributions to everybody, and we can't do a cash balance plan. So we want to go into the 7702 or non-qualified plans that we've talked about a lot. That's for the insurance-based stuff. So how do we offset the current year deductions going into some of these training programs? And we want to talk about these advanced tax strategies for the high income, tribal tax credits, debt film financing, solar, oil and gas. These are things that you can bring to the table to help offset. And this is what I do. I did it twice last week and said, let's offset this $150,000 or $50,000 annual contribution into the 7702 plan, but let's find you some other tax credits. Maybe they can bring these to the table. These are things that you can do research on your own that they talk about in the podcast too. You don't have to be a part of this program to look at it, but these are out there. And the whole concept is coming to the table and being the general practitioner to the business owner and bringing in the specialists to help come solve all the solutions. And then they come to you as the resource. Okay, not the CPA, because the CPA is their own specialist. Make sense? Any questions on the resource page? I know we're running out of time, so but I think the tool that Nick presented today was really, really, really important, because that is people. It is just dig in and make all those phone calls, and you will set appointments.
So I guess I would say, with 1 minute to spare, what we have is the opportunity here. Great job, gentlemen. Matt, Nick. This was the fourth of four in our series of retirements, but one, I would say, if you're appreciative, you can always say thanks, Matt, in the chat or whatever. Or what we'll do is we'll probably set up something again in the beginning of the new year, to really kind of continue on this, because I think this is a big part of the value proposition, and we can go in deeper and really just help as many people as possible. The recording will be up on the site by tomorrow. Again, write down prospects. Also make sure that you bookmarked the lifeincrs.com website at the top, retirement.johnhancock.com. It is free, and I want you guys to make sure that you take advantage of this. Right now, if you think of the analogy of football, we're in the huddle, okay? Let's actually get the play out there. When the first step is write down the prospects. Let's set up calls. Let's start getting this into action and putting points on the board so you guys can start making some mailbox money. All right. So thank you again, Matt. Thank you again, Nick. We look forward to putting money in your guys' pockets as well, for the support and the partnership, and looking forward to the collaboration that we can continue on in this end of the year and beginning of the next year as well. So thank you guys so much.
Thanks for the time, Phil. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks, Phil. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Nick.
Bye.